When you think midge, you think small and low profile. Well, not with the Buffalo Midge. This is Tim from Tacky Fly Fishing on another Fly Tie Friday, and I'm here to teach you how to tie this brute with some really unique materials. So stay tuned. Late winter, early spring of every year here in Utah, we have what's called the Buffalo Midge hatch by the locals. It's mainly called that just because of the massive size of this fly. It has giant shoulders, just a really beefy midge. And not too long ago, I had a friend that's a taxidermist actually give me some buffalo hair to use to tie some flies, and I figured what better way to represent this buffalo midge than with real buffalo hair. And so you'll see me use some of this really unique material on this tie today. So to start this fly, we add some Peacock Roe on a size 16 or 18 dry fly hook with black thread. You get that Peacock Roe, it basically is the entire body of the fly. We first build the butt section of the fly up to about midway through the whole fly body itself. And this is where we use the buffalo itself. You can see how coarse this is. It probably looks more like Yeti hair than buffalo hair, I assume anyway. But this stuff is extremely coarse. It actually soaks up water really heavily, so it's not necessarily ideal for dry flies unless you use some sort of treatment like gink on it. And then it floats extremely well. And a lot that we do with this fly is designed to just float really, really well. So we place it on the back just kind of as a set of wings on the midge itself. They look really sparse, but in the water it looks really, really pretty cool. The next thing we'll add is foam. This is just 2mm craft foam, and we make sure to cut a nice point on this as we add it. Just a really thin piece of it will do. So we apply this foam facing backwards on the fly. Effectively, we're just going to build a big hump that represent kind of those shoulders that I described before on this big beefy midge pattern. And once that foam is attached, you can start again with the peacock itself, and leave yourself about 2mm between the eye of the hook and where your thread will end, and we can now build this big foam hump, again the shoulders that we described before. So at this point you grab a piece of hackle. I like to use hackle from a cape just at the neck area, and I pull off a few fibers at the base of that feather to make sure that I've got something to actually tie onto the fly itself as I'm moving forward. At this point, we just simply anchor that little space on the feather that we've made for ourselves to the very front portion of that foam hump that we've made. We get 3 really good wraps. Make sure to tie the feather back down so that we have it anchored tightly in between those 2 foam pieces, and then cut off the excess portion of the feather. So at this point we're actually ready to whip finish the fly. We're virtually done. It's a really simple tie, easy to do, and one that is extremely effective. Before we finish everything off, though, we have to make sure, obviously, one, to clip off the rest of our thread, but also to cut the end of this foam off so that all we're left with is basically a little stub. This here is the Buffalo Midge. It's something that we fish a lot of, again, in the late winter, early spring months. It's just a really beefy, really high floating fly, and I love the peacock on the bottom that kind of represents the Griffith's gnat and all the other things that you always associate with midge fishing. So make sure, as always, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook and on Instagram. And we'll see you guys next Friday.